morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, dogs and cats, and all the ships at sea. It is I, your guide to all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, and general internet nonsense that is known as the OGGM, broadcasting live from a small island off the coast of Costa Rica, known mysteriously as Site B. I'm drinking lukewarm coffee, and it's Monday. It's Monday, the 24th of April, 2023, about 9 o'clock in the morning, and the fog has rolled back in here at my lovely summer spring beach town. So my, allergies and everything are back because this town's weather hates me. Hey, move to Ventura. It's the best place in the world for your head and your allergies. No, it is not. It is one of the worst places in the world. If you have my level of allergies. I suppose if you don't have the kind of allergies I do, then this is a great place to live. But enough about me. How are you this Monday morning? Hopefully you are all well, warm, and caffeinated, because it's time to take a look at all the tabletop role-playing game news stories that are fit to talk about and set our compasses for the week to see how the world of role-playing is going to shape this week. What controversies and criticisms and comedy are we going to bombarded with from the various factions out there? And what will Wizards of the Coast do this week that makes no sense to any logically thinking human being? So obviously we need to address the elephant in the room, which is the Critical Role news and the Casey Owens news. But first, let's take a look at all the other stuff before we get to the deep stuff. All right, so we talked about this before. We've got the Gloomhaven role-playing game coming out. That was inevitable. Did anybody think they weren't going to make one at some point in time? I mean, the figures alone just sort of like demand that they do something with the world. For those of you who aren't familiar with Gloomhaven, it's like, I don't know what you would call them. It's like, it's not 100% a board game, but it's not 100% a role-playing game. It's that weird middle ground between board game and role-playing game. It's a board game, but it has characters, it has figures, it has adventures. The characters can get better. But yeah, now it's a huge board game. Like, it takes 40 minutes to set up board game. Like the box, I don't know if I talked about this before. They had to get a special machine to make the boxes that contain Gloomhaven once they became more popular and were selling more, because the machines that existed at the point in time couldn't handle the size of the box. That's how big it is. And it's supposedly going to have 600 figures. I'm not quite sure what that means. We know that there's going to be a lot of figures in the box, because that's what Gloomhaven and Frosthaven is known for, the figures and the high quality figures. So we've been told at least 200 figures in the box for the role-playing game, which seems a little excessive, but whatever. And then a total of 600 ever for the first run this year. Then you're going to make more, because, I mean, 600 seems like a lot. But then if you're planning on having the role-playing game last longer and supporting it ad infinitum, there's going to be supplements and modules, and eventually people are going to want to be like, I want a figure for a half carat Gloomhaven, and you haven't made one. And Gloomhaven's going to go, well, God damn it, now we got to make a half carat. So I'm not sure what the statement 600 figures is going to mean, because there's only 200 in the box. So I guess maybe that if you count the additional supplements that's going to come out, there'll be 600 total, 200 in the box, and then 400 more in blind boxes. I guess, maybe, I don't know. It doesn't matter. There'll be a lot of figures. So even if you don't get the game, figures. We know that there's some more information regarding the future of Dungeons and Dragons and D&D Beyond and what they have planning going forward. And as usual with anything that comes out with Wizards of the Coast, take this with a grain of salt, because Wizards of the Coast lies. Nothing they say makes sense. And anything that they say is subject to change based upon whatever way the wind is blowing. So this is stuff we've already talked about. The plans for D&D Beyond, the inevitable shutting down of the D&D website. But, the D&D website hasn't been worth a dime in like 2 years. So shutting it down is kind of like, nobody cares. We know that Vecna is going to feature heavily in 2024. We know that there's some books coming out for the remainder of 2023, including the Book of Many Things and the Lost Mines of Fendelver campaign setting. The Book of Many Things is basically here's a whole sort of splattery stuff of new random things, kind of like Tasha's and Xanthars. And by the way, we're releasing at least one, if not two, brand new Deck of Many Things with more cards. So all of you on Etsy who have been making money off of Deck of Many Things sets for all these years, screw you! Because now we're making one that's got all new cards. And if you want to make one, you've got to jump through the latest round of hoops for physical product made for D&D, which may or may not fall under the SRD. But yeah, then we know that they're working on a new Dungeon Master's Guide, which basically sounds like, I don't know. It's obviously going to be the last one because it's always the last one. It's obviously going to feature heavily on the new magic items and the magic items that exist and the rules for magic items. Because let's face it, that's like 80% of the reason anybody gets the Dungeon Master's Guide is the magic items. It'll feature sections on how to role play, how to adventure build, how to campaign build, which is something you should have had from day one, Wizards of the Coast. Perkins, in managing to talk about, also managed to subtly insult it, not once or twice, but so, I don't know. He literally said he expects people to think it's going to be crap. So, We also know that the Japanese box set for the Explorers thing is coming out, which will feature brand new, not very good anime-inspired artwork. There has been rumors of a Dungeons & Dragons live-action television series that now is scheduled to maybe show up possibly on Paramount+. Oh, wait, didn't something just happen with Paramount+? So who knows? Will it feature the characters from the TV show, since that you're featuring them in this picture? No, because they all maybe died, or maybe they didn't. Other than that, we don't know, because the actors, directors, producer, and anything else keeps changing. And this has been in development hell since 2006, guys. So, yeah. We might see a D&D TV show that might be on Paramount Plus sometime between today and the end of the world. So you've got at least a billion years. Darrington Press, the publishing arm of Critical Role, has announced 2 new role-playing games. That's in addition to Syndicate, the role-playing game they announced when Darrington Press first went live, which is basically Matt Mercer's version of sort of a toned-down Shadowrun. It's guilds and gangsters and cultists in a fantasy crime world. That's still in the works. There's also something that they were doing called the Critical Role Adventure game, but that's been put on hold in exchange for 2 new role-playing games. And this one I am very excited about. So excited about that we will go into it further later on separately, because there's been some misinformation already. And of course, I've got to do my best to clear the misinformation. And now that I've had my few moments of gloating, I can look at this with a non-biased point of view, as opposed to last week when I was laughing hysterically about the fact that they announced it after being told for 2 years, oh no, that'll never happen. And I was like, no, it will. And people are like, dude, you're so stupid. Critical Role is never going to make their own game. And I was like, yeah, they will. And now people are like, oh, what do you know? The OGGM was right. And then there's even people going, yeah, I know. I remember when I said that. I was like, no, you didn't. Renegade Games has announced some new Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition. If you're a fan of the World of Darkness, you would recognize the name, you will recognize the setting, you will recognize the fact that of all the World of Darkness settings, Werewolf the Apocalypse was actually slightly more popular than Vampire the Masquerade. Vampire the Masquerade just got the most press because the LARPing, and of course, that short-lived Kindred the Embrace television show. Who remembers Kindred the Embrace television show besides me? So we can look forward to some brand new stuff in the Werewolf the Apocalypse setting from Renegade Studios. Speaking of Renegade Studios, go Power Rangers. We have the crossover. This is called the Field Guide to Action and Adventure. It features information on the G.I. Joe role-playing game, the Power Rangers role-playing game, the Transformers role-playing game, and how you can cross them over. This is, of course, something that they've done in the comic books several times, G.I. Joe versus Transformers versus Power Rangers. Transformers versus G.I. Joe, Power Rangers versus G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe versus My Little Pony. Okay, maybe they haven't done that one, but they should. And we know Pinkie Pie would win. But yeah, so they've done this. In fact, they hinted at this a long time ago when you think about it. So this isn't really a surprise. There has been multiple crossovers in the comic books for as far back as when Marvel had the rights. So well, it'll be interesting to see this. Apparently, my friend TJ Storm has something to do with the Power Rangers role-playing game, despite never telling me about it. I'm not bitter. Then we have this thing. Dragonbane has finally been released. Free League is pushing this to the moon. They have released a quick start for the game in both English and Swedish on drive-thru for free. You can get the full PDF for $24 or the hardcover box for $50. And as you know, they have a completely separate brand new SRD Creative Commons legal ORC thing that is specifically for Dragonbane. So they want people to make new stuff for Dragonbane, and a separate legal document to cover people who want to make stuff for the Year Zero engine like me, or other people who like OpenD6. You know who else is making an OpenD6 system? Well, it's Darrington Press. We'll get to that later. Because there's been a lot of misinformation for that. So they really want people to make stuff for their system. If you're not familiar with Dragonbane, it is basically the Swedish European version of D&D. Came out sometime in the late 70s. It's been floating around in Europe and Sweden and that part of the world. It's run parallel to D&D. It was as popular as D&D, but in that part of the planet. And now its rights have fallen into the hands of Free League, who usually are able to knock them out of the park, though their last year or so, they haven't been batting 1,000. But we'll see. This could be huge or not. Catalyst Games and Drive-Thru has announced a community content program for Shadowrun titled Holo Street, the Shadowrun Collective. Similar to the DMs Guild and Storyteller Vault, this program will allow publishers to publish their own material in the Shadowrun or Shadowrun adjacent setting. So yay, I guess Shadowrun is now going Common Core, allowing you to make stuff in the Shadowrun universe. These things are back. Yay. Maybe. I don't know. Call your Arby's and see if they have them, because Arby's made dice. What are the dice made out of? Why are they so special? I don't know. Are they made out of Arby sauce? Maybe. Do they smell like roast beef? Maybe. Is it just weird that Arby's made dice and they're like, hey, look, we made dice. Isn't that cool? And people are like, oh, yeah, Arby's dice. If I roll a natural 20, do I get a free sandwich? No, probably not. Other than that, hey, it's Arby's dice. So maybe they smell like Arby's sauce, or maybe they're made out of the same stuff that Arby's is made out of. I don't know. It's fun. It's cool. It's different. It's weird. They're probably already sold out. All right, so that's it for tabletop role-playing game news. It's going to shape the world of role-playing. Of course, we do need to talk about the Critical Role thing, and we do need to talk about the Owen Casey Seffens thing, and that's about it. What's going on with our friends at Paizo? Because it's time for the Paizo news. Paizo, of course, you know, releases this news to us every week around this time as ways to distract us from the fact that there still hasn't been any actual movement on the ORC. So, starting with, looks like there's a brand new adventure path for both Starfinder and Pathfinder. Starfinder has a brand new society scenario coming out called To Catch a King, as well as a other one for the rest of us who aren't part of the Starfinder Society called Lost Dragons Legacy. So these are two new adventure path / modules for Starfinder. Pathfinder has something coming out called Negotiations for the Stargun for the Pathfinder Society, and for Pathfinder regular stuff, we have something called the Sword Lord's Challenge, as well as the Stolen Fate Adventure Path, which we have no information on. We know that there is a new Pathfinder comic coming out from whoever is currently doing it. I believe it is Boom Studios. This has nothing to do with the Brom Studios, who's doing the brand new Pathfinder video games. Kobold Press is moving. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It means that Kobold Press has been selling their stuff on the Paizo site for a year, but now it's time for them to move shops. So both Kobold and Paizo are having sales to clear out the titles, especially the 5e titles, to make room for when they move to the new warehouse. And here we go with the brand new Stolen Fate Adventure Path. It's starting. This is the next adventure path for 2023. 6 new backgrounds, character suggestions, blah, 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 blah. If you're ready for another Pathfinder 2 adventure paths. You know what there's not mentioned anywhere near? The latest news on the ORC, other than it is going to the attorneys for a second round. Yay. Yes, we need to talk about this. That'll be a separate vlog. And yes, we need to talk about this, but that'll be a separate vlog because I've already wasted your time for almost 16 minutes. Anything else we need to talk about before we sign off? No, that's about it. If you appreciate the nonsense that's coming out of my mouth, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 2,000 subs by the end of the year. And consider supporting the OG GM Adventures. And the 3 ways you can do that is to buy me a coffee. Lukewarm coffee through the Ko-Fi. Buy my merch over at Big Geek Emporium, including Minions on a Mission issue 11 that just went live 24 hours ago. It's 10 new pages of Minion-specific equipment because everybody said more gear. And please consider signing up for the Patreon. It's only $4.99 a month, and it will be going forward probably the best way to get any and all exclusive OG GMs merch, including the adventures. And I will, starting next month, have Patreon exclusive content as soon as I figure out how to make that work. And in July, I'll be moving all my Minecraft and food videos exclusively to the Patreon. So if you're a fan of my Minecraft playthroughs, that's where they'll be once I figure out how to get them there. Magic of Patreon. Ooh, magic. Till then, I'm the OG GM wishing you a great Monday. We do have some more news to go to, but let's take a break. Everybody get up, get a coffee, take a breath, stretch your legs, enjoy the... No, it's not sunshine anymore. It's foggy and gross outside again. Yay. Stay warm, stay safe, stay dry, stay hydrated, and stay the F off my land. Talk to you later.